Today on the show, we are joined by Julia Schuller. Julia is a seasoned marketing professional known for driving branding, product strategy, and innovation at companies like Merck, the Hershey Company, and Procter & Gamble. She co-founded Bloom Health, a digital health company revolutionizing the standard for women's health. But Julia is also a keynote speaker and a viral content creator dedicated to empowering others through community engagement and education. She is a proud alumna of Penn State University Schuylkill campus, and she also holds an MBA from Vanderbilt University. Please welcome to the People of Penn State podcast, Julia Schuller. Julia, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start right at the beginning. You're from Schuylkill Haven. How'd you become a Penn State Nittany Lion?
Well, it was an interesting journey, I'm not going to lie. As you know, I went to Penn State Schuylkill campus, which was honestly a really tough decision for me. I was accepted to main campus, and of course, who doesn't want to go to Happy Valley? It's one of the greatest places on earth. And so I really wanted to go there, and I actually was even accepted to the Schreier Honors College. But at the time, my mom was really encouraging me to consider financial reasons for, which school I would choose to attend, including the specific campus, like Penn State Schuylkill versus main campus. And she actually went to Penn State Schuylkill herself and was a 4.0 student there. And so I kind of followed in her footsteps in a way. But unfortunately, she wasn't able to graduate. She had one class left. So something happened traumatically in her family right before she had to graduate. So we need to get her like an honorary degree or something. But she was a 4.0 student and had one more class, and I followed in her footsteps, went to Penn State Schuylkill primarily for financial reasons. And it was a really great opportunity because at the time they were standing up a new program, specifically in corporate communications. And so I was one of the first students to go through that program, which was really incredible. And like I said, the financial piece was really important to me to not, put myself in a position where I was strapped with a lot of college debt. And I was incredibly fortunate to have not only a full scholarship at the Schuylkill campus, but I actually somehow received so many scholarships that I was reimbursed
Wow.
a significant amount of money that I actually used to purchase my first car. And so it was largely a financial decision, but I was so sad not to go to Happy Valley, but of course had the opportunity to visit multiple times and loved my time at Penn State Schuylkill.
Absolutely. So as a student at Schuylkill, what were you involved in?
Well, I was really interested in broadcast journalism at the time. That was actually what I wanted to focus on if I went to main campus. But at Schuylkill, there wasn't a broadcast journalism major. And so I actually started a club called PSSB, which stood for Penn State Schuylkill Broadcasting. And that was a lot of fun. And I would definitely encourage you and anyone else listening to the podcast to go on YouTube and to search Penn State Schuylkill, like spook.
Okay.
And then Phil, because it's one of our best videos. But it actually tells the history of Penn State Schuylkill and the grounds. And the campus used to actually be, like the grounds for the campus used to be the grounds for a mental hospital. And so it's a little bit spooky, but we tell the history of the campus, and that was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's great. Is it any like ghost stories? Is it haunted? Can you give us a preview?
The librarian tells some pretty interesting ghost stories. There is a rumor that the crematory still exists on the campus, and we have footage of the so-called crematory, but I cannot confirm or deny if it's actually the crematory. But there's also rumors that the computer lab at Penn State Schuylkill's campus used to be the morgue, but also that wasn't confirmed. But there's a lot of rumors, and it was definitely a fun video to create.
Yeah, well, let's not let the truth get in the way of good storytelling, right?
Yeah.
So, I look forward to checking that out. When you came to Penn State, what was the initial career goal? You said corporate communications. You had an interest in broadcasting. Did you want to work for WNEP TV, or what was the goal?
I was really interested in broadcast journalism. You're right, and I actually worked at T102, which was a radio station in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, and I worked for their AM station doing the oldies music. So that was really fun while I was at Penn State Schuylkill. And I think I had a job offer. Actually, one of my first job offers out of college was in broadcast journalism. as like maybe like a producer or something, but the hours were really crazy. And so I decided that wasn't the path for me. But during school, I had a really close relationship with one of my professors, Dr. Schrader, and she really helped me explore my purpose and my passion, which I found to be helping women. Which at the time in undergrad, it was very a generic purpose and passion that I had. But over time, I've had a lot of experiences that have kind of like clarified what my passion and I feel like my purpose is, especially as it relates to my career.
This is the People of Penn State. I'm Paul Clifford. I'm joined today by Julia Schuller. She is the co-founder and CEO of Bloom Health. So, Julia, let's talk about Bloom Health, right? First, the story of the founding of the company is one that's really personal to you, and it was related to a personal health challenge that you were going through. Talk a little bit about the origin story of Bloom Health.
Of course. Yeah, I definitely struggled with my health for a long time. And it actually started while I was an undergraduate student at Penn State, my junior year. And I experienced a lot of medical gaslighting, bouncing from doctor to doctor, not being able to figure out what was wrong with me, and racking up a ton of medical debt. And so it was a really challenging time of my life. And there was a point where I honestly hit rock bottom, quit my job, moved home with my parents, and I was at an all-time low. But at that time, I was fortunate enough to meet a doctor, Dr. Danielle Miller, who really totally changed my life. And what she helped me understand was that I was actually experiencing side effects from the birth control pill, which at that time I had been on for about 10 years, and that I had some underlying health conditions, specifically endometriosis and PCOS. And she introduced me to this incredible scientific method that not only allowed me to avoid pregnancy naturally without the side effects of birth control, but also allowed me to get to the root cause of my health issues and hormone imbalances. And so that was totally life-changing to me. And when I shared my story on social media, I quickly went viral, found myself with over 20 million views, 100,000 followers, a feature on BuzzFeed, and realized that there were a lot of women looking for similar solutions that I was. And so Dr. Miller and I partnered together to create the solution. And our company is Bloom Health. And I'd be happy to talk more about our products and what we hope to do.
Absolutely. But I want to go back to something that you said just a minute ago in terms of medical gaslighting. There is this phenomena that women have a much more difficult time getting healthcare in this country or being believed for what they're presenting to their doctors than men, right? Why do you think that is, and how does your product kind of help with women getting the kind of healthcare that they need and deserve?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm honestly not really sure of the why. I mean, while I was at Penn State Schuylkill, I did a lot of academic work with Dr. Schrader, and we looked at a lot of the different waves of feminism and like what women are still struggling with today in their career. And then, as I went on my career, I realized women are really struggling in the healthcare field, and there's a huge gender health gap. And for conditions like PCOS, it can take up to 8 years to get diagnosed. And so it's really unfortunate. And that was, my story as well, something that I had to go through and experience. But our product, one of the 3 modes of essentially an app that we have created with a very advanced algorithm, helps women get diagnosed faster. And so if you're experiencing gaslighting in your doctor's office, but something is wrong with your body, you can actually track a specific biomarker in our app, and it will actually flag if you have a hormone imbalance or potentially have early signs of something like endometriosis or PCOS.
So you mentioned Dr. Danielle Miller. She is your co-founder of Bloom, so we'll give her a shout out. Talk a little bit about how you decided to go from kind of an alternative birth control, right? Going off of the pill, using natural, kind of natural solutions for birth control. How did you come up with going in the direction of using technology and developing an app?
That's a great question. Well, when Dr. Miller introduced me to this proven scientific approach, I honestly almost didn't believe her at first because I had been on the birth control pill for almost 10 years, and I didn't realize that there were credible natural alternatives. And there's a lot of misinformation when it comes to natural birth control online. And so I was honestly may have thought she, was a little crazy at first, but I was also desperate. And so I gave this a shot, and it was incredibly effective for me and has been for over 5 years. And so the one frustrating part of my journey when I started trying this natural approach is that the method is traditionally taught and practiced on paper. And so it's very outdated, and it's never been modernized into an advanced algorithm. And we took this, proven scientific method studied by the World Health Organization, and we turned it to an advanced algorithm so that women can essentially access this innovative approach in the palm of their hand.
So tell us a little bit more about the app. I know there's popular apps out there focused on women's healthcare. I know some women use the Flow app to help monitor and track their menstrual cycles. How is this app different from others that might be on the market?
Yeah, so there's a ton of women's health apps out there, over 500 period tracking and ovulation tracking apps. There's only one natural birth control app on the market. It's called Natural Cycles, and it's FDA cleared as a digital contraceptive or birth control app. And so that comes with a clinical study that proves the efficacy of their methodology so that women are safe to use it for birth control. And so Natural Cycles is really set apart from a lot of popular ovulation and period tracking apps, like the Flow app, for example. And most of the apps in the market are using the calendar method or the rhythm method, no bio data, just to guess when a woman might be ovulated. However, Natural Cycles is using a biomarker. We're the same way. We're using a proven biomarker, and we really prioritize scientific credibility. And so we're going through the FDA process. We've started that process. We will have to do a clinical trial, and our goal is to be the second natural birth control app on the market, but with a more effective biomarker than Natural Cycles. And so it's a natural birth control app called Bloom Birth Control, and it also works for conception and, like I mentioned earlier, to help women get to the root cause of common health conditions.
So for people who might be new to this approach, what can you define biomarker and how that is kind of connected to the app?
Yeah. So the biomarker that Natural Cycle uses is temperature. And so you can either take your temperature every morning, you can use an Oura Ring or an Apple Watch. For us, our biomarker is cervical fluid, which, as I mentioned, is proven to be more effective than the temperature biomarker. And it's very intuitive. There's no external technology. There is a little bit of a learning curve. So we have a video learning plan teaching women basically everything that they missed out on sex ed, including what is cervical fluid, how to pay attention to it, and how to track it in the Bloom app. And then once you're tracking that biomarker in the app daily, the app will give you insights into your health and also tell you if you're fertile or not fertile on a daily basis.
So I would imagine bringing a product like Bloom to the market must involve many steps. So can you walk us through some of the key milestones and challenges that you've encountered along the way?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, Bloom is a class 2 medical device, and we have an extensive FDA process to go through. So that's definitely been a big hurdle for us, is raising the funds really to do a 1-year, very extensive clinical trial that's required by the FDA. And so we've been on a journey to, fundraise, and we were raising a seed round right now. And we also started the FDA process, and we've received really encouraging feedback, and they're excited about innovative and also credible natural birth control apps like Bloom coming to market. And then the other piece is product development, which we've been really hard at work at. We actually have a beta that's working and that we've tested with a small group of users and got incredible feedback. And we've extensively studied it with a reproductive physiologist. And the efficacy is looking in line with the scientific method that it's based on so far. And we're excited to be releasing those results soon.
So you talked about fundraising, obviously looking for venture capital, looking for investors. But You've had some success with the National Science Foundation. You've gotten a lot of exposure at the United Nations. Can you talk a little bit about what those experiences and what that support has meant to the company in the early stages?
Yeah. So in the early stages, we had a really incredible opportunity to present at a parallel event for the UN's Commission on the Status for Women about the importance of natural but credible alternatives to hormonal birth control. And so that support, of course, and that opportunity meant a lot to us. And then fundraising and grants like the one from the National Science Foundation have meant a lot to us too. Because like I said, the scientific credibility is really what makes Bloom stand apart from a lot of the period tracking apps on the market, because we're so much more than a period tracking app. We're a natural birth control app based on proven science. And so, like I mentioned, we have a big fundraising challenge right now. We are actually raising $3 million to do the FDA clinical trial. And I'm excited to say that we've raised hundreds of thousands from BC, from the National Science Foundation, from angel investors, Vanderbilt University grants. And so we're really encouraged by the support we've received so far to make this product a reality.
Your product, from what I've been able to read in your company, has a worldwide focus, right? It certainly has international aspirations, and I wonder if that is due in part to some of the cultural stigmas that are around using birth control or using kind of prescription birth control versus natural methods. There's some religious prohibitions around that. Is that a driving force behind one of the reasons that you're looking at the international markets like you are?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of cultures and religions that are strongly against hormonal birth control. And so millions of women are taking the risk of unintended pregnancy, but something innovative and natural like Bloom would allow them to take control of their fertility and plan pregnancies according to what works best for them, for their family. And so those populations exist in the US and outside the US. And we're really excited to really take Bloom worldwide one day.
At the stage that your company's currently at, right, I would imagine that fundraising continues to be a top priority. What strategies have you found most effective in your fundraising efforts for Bloom?
Yeah, definitely leading with my personal story and commitment to the company's mission has been important, and I think has allowed us to have success when it comes to fundraising, especially from VC angel investors and even pitch competitions. I feel like what investors are looking for is to build a relationship of trust with the founder and to know that they're not investing in someone who's going to throw in the towel when times get tough. And in the startup world, that happens all the time. And so I always like to say I turn my pain into purpose. And this is like an incredibly personal project for me. It's not just because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. It's because I really feel called to this work.
So you're based in Orlando, and kind of research shows that that a lot of venture capital funding occurs within 30 miles, 30 to 60 miles of the venture capital fund, right? So what makes Orlando kind of an ideal place for you to be based out of versus Boston or Silicon Valley?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I am here right now because my fiance just accepted a job here, and the family piece is really important to me too. So it was kind of a decision that wasn't solely based on what might be most successful for the company, but I've been really excited about the femtech community that I've already been able to plug into here. Met other femtech founders who are doing incredibly innovative work in diagnosing things like endometriosis. And so I think, no matter where you are, the femtech community is really small, and being plugged into that is what is going to help you get far in terms of investment and making your company successful.
Now, we talked about the program you were in at Penn State Schuylkill, the corporate communications program. What have you been able to take from that experience? And can you share some marketing and communication strategies you've used to build awareness and even a wait list for Bloom.
Yeah. So I think I mentioned a little bit earlier that I work with Dr. Schrader very closely, who is a Penn State Schuylkill professor in communications, and she's incredible. Learned a ton about marketing and communications from her. We actually co-authored an academic publication using the theory of face work to analyze Instagram modeling in the very early stages of Instagram modeling. And I later went on to go viral and become a content creator. And so I applied a lot of what I learned about, communicating, especially on mediums like social media, to my experience going viral. And I've used a lot of storytelling techniques that I can trace back to my early days at Penn State Schuylkill. And also branding techniques that I learned in different classes at Penn State Schuylkill as well, because at Bloom, I've had the really cool opportunity to create a brand from scratch. Everything from photography to the story and the logo and the colors and the copywriting. And so it's been a really cool experience. And then we've used organic social media to build a wait list of almost 500 women and to get organic social media growth, including almost 500,000 views from our videos.
So you mentioned going viral. You are a TikTok sensation, right? I mean, you've gotten a lot of attention out there in that space. Can you talk a little bit about, like, there's a chicken and egg thing here, right? Did you go viral and then you got the idea for the company, or was the idea for the company already hatched and you utilized TikTok and other social media platforms to advance the idea, or was it a little of both?
That's a really good question. When I started posting on social media, I didn't have the idea for the company. I was working at the Hershey Company at the time in marketing and innovation and learning that my passion was women's health and struggling with my own health. But that's also around the time where I was learning all these things about my health that I had no idea about from this doctor who is now my co-founder. And so I was just kind of shocked by all of this information I was finally learning at 25 years old and wanted to share it and empower other women. And that's when I started going viral. And, I continued to use this natural approach to birth control myself and continue to talk about that online. And I kept saying to my fiance that it was so frustrating that I had a track on paper. Like, it just seemed so outdated. And I wish I could just do it on my phone. And he is a design whiz. And so one day when we were living in Hershey, Pennsylvania, we just sat down and created the prototype. And then I was like, I think there's really something here. Like, this is pretty awesome. And pitched the idea to my co-founder. And we really spent a lot of time building the product before I even started to go back and be active on social media again, to be honest. I've taken a lot of social media breaks for my mental health. But I know it's going to be an important part of the company's success is sharing our story.
We have a friend of the podcast, the former podcast guest, Jim Stengel. Jim wrote a book a number of years ago called Unleashing the Innovators, where he looked at large corporations and how they are actually incubators for entrepreneurs. And so I look at your background and I see Merck, I see P&G, I see the Hershey Company. How much did those experiences set you up to go out on your own and become an entrepreneur?
That's a great question. Well, I had the honor of working on the innovation team at the Hershey Company, and that was the first Fortune 500 company that I worked for. And I've always been on this health journey, as you know. During that time, I was on the health journey, and Hershey has a lot of better for you products. It's like a whole category for them. So a lot of snacking products that are better than, some snacks you might find on the market. And I was really passionate about the better for you snacking space because I feel like health should be accessible to everyone. And that includes food and it includes snacking. So I think that really inspired me. And I loved working on the innovation team. And I had the opportunity to work on some really cool products and bring those to market and work on their branding, like Hershey Milklicious, for example. And so that's around the time that I decided that I wanted to pursue my MBA, because I wanted to move up at the Hershey Company. And I wanted to do more in innovation. And I just loved that team. And then while I was at my MBA, while I was getting my MBA at Vanderbilt, that's when I thought, this is a great time to take a risk and start my own company. And there was a lot of resources at Vanderbilt when it came to innovation. And so I thought like, okay, before I go back into corporate America, let's see if there's something here. And it just ended up taking off really quickly. So it's been an incredible journey.
Yeah, you mentioned Vanderbilt. Vince and I were chatting a little bit about Penn State football when we came on. What is it like to have Vanderbilt be a football school now?
I mean, can't believe it. That's incredible. Like, I'm incredibly proud. I wear my Vandy tee out in Orlando, and people are like congratulating me as if I had something to do with it, but it's just awesome.
Certainly one of the great stories in college football this year, with their big upset over Alabama and the success that they've been able to find on the field. Talking about finding success, though, what and you're thinking about your entrepreneurial journey, right? What unexpected things have happened along the way, and how did you approach them and overcome them?
I mean, there's definitely been a lot of challenges. Startup life is not for the faint of heart, but there's been a lot of unexpected, incredible opportunities that have come up along the way too. One of the coolest ones, in my opinion, was actually when we won a pitch competition sponsored by Goop, which is Gwyneth Paltrow's company.
Oh, wow.
And I was so excited. It was one of the first pitch competitions that we competed in. And I really hoped that she was going to be there, or someone from her team was going to be there. And unfortunately, she wasn't. But about a year later, she actually came to Vanderbilt's campus and did a keynote speech. And they asked me to introduce her on stage, which was like the coolest moment of my life. So I got to meet her backstage, had like 20 seconds to pitch her before I introduced her, and told her about Bloom. And it was very cool. She loved the idea. And we actually got to do a demo with her about a month later virtually. So it was very cool to share my passion and product with her and to have her support.
That's exciting. Can you talk a little bit about any advice that you might have for the younger Julia, the Julia who was at Penn State Schuylkill, right? Not knowing kind of where your career was going to take you. What advice would you give younger Julia about becoming an entrepreneur?
It's a good question. I think back then I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had a vague purpose or passion for helping women, but I didn't really know what that meant. And so I guess I would just encourage the younger version of me to follow that purpose, and, to stay resilient even when setbacks come, because they're surely inevitable, especially when starting your own company.
This is the People of Penn State. I'm Paul Clifford. I'm joined today by Julia Schuller. She's the co-founder and CEO of Bloom Health. Well, Julia, at the end of every podcast, we like to have a little bit of fun. So I'm going to throw some quick hitter questions at you if you're up for it, and see what your responses might be related to Penn State.
Okay, I think I'm going to be terrible at this, but I'll give it a shot.
All right, let's start. How about your favorite class at Penn State?
Drama class.
Drama class. Excellent. How about your favorite Penn State moment?
Favorite Penn State moment? I won a top paper award at an undergraduate scholars conference for the Eastern Communication Association, on a paper about social media and Facebook. And that was really cool. I got a trophy and everything. So that's definitely a fond memory.
So the question is, if you could have dinner with anyone, who would it be and why? But I want to be real specific with this one. You're in Nashville. You're at Martin's Barbecue. Who are you taking with you?
Maybe Reese Witherspoon.
Okay.
She has some Draper James stores around there, and I feel like she would just be a really cool person to meet and to learn about her experience as an actor and entrepreneur would be really cool.
It seems like she'd be down to have like barbecue sauce under her fingernails too, like just a regular person, right?
Yeah.
So how about your most unusual "we are" moment? Maybe a place where you saw a Penn Stater and you yelled out "we are," or you were recognized as a Penn Stater and you got it.
Actually, today, this is pretty wild. But I was on a bike ride this morning in Orlando and saw someone with a Penn State shirt. And I was like, this is the perfect moment to talk about on the podcast. But yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. How about your favorite Penn State sport?
Does marching band count?
Marching band does count.
Okay.
We will allow marching band. And you are, believe it or not, you are the first person to pick the blue band.
They're amazing. I used to be in marching band in undergrad, and when I wanted to go to main campus, I really wanted to be in the blue band, but unfortunately didn't get to do that, but they're incredible.
That's amazing. And how about your favorite flavor of creamery ice cream?
Okay, this is really embarrassing, but I've never been.
Oh, wow.
I know, but I
You're
am
going to have to come to
accepting.
Happy Valley. You're going to have to come to Happy Valley and partake in some creamery ice cream.
I know, it's so sad. So yeah, someone needs to sponsor a trip there because it's really overdue. But branch campus student problems, I guess.
I guess, exactly. Well, Julia, we want to thank you for joining us on The People of Penn State. It's when alumni like you allow us to tell your story to other Penn Staters that raises the reputation of our university and increases the value of the Penn State degrees that we all hold. And we're truly grateful for that.
Thank you so much. This has been an honor.
All right, Julia, continued success to you. Good luck.
Thank you so much, Paul.
I want to thank our producer, Vincent Longaro, and our guest relations coordinator, Abby Clark. If you liked this episode, I hope that you'll subscribe to the People of Penn State podcast in your favorite podcast app of choice. And while you're there, go ahead and give us a rating and give us a review. It helps other Penn Staters find these fantastic stories. If you're a member of the Penn State Alumni Association, thank you for your support. And if you're not yet a member, what are you waiting for? Go to our website at alumni.psu.edu, and you too could become a member of the world's largest alumni association. Thanks for listening and for all you do for the university, for the glory, and for the future. We are